Hello. Bucking Horses was the name of the message yesterday at Corner Post Cowboy Church and Crossbrand Cowboy Church. And I want to take this opportunity just to recap a little bit about what that message was about for those of y'all who have not heard it, and also to make an extra point or two. Bucking Horses. The reason I named it Bucking Horses was because I use that as an illustration. You know how you can be riding your horse and everything's just going fine, the horse is doing fine, just plodding along, everybody's happy, and then just out of nowhere, the horse blows up, starts to buck. Why is that? Well, often it's because of some outside source. You know, it could be because of a saddlebag that slipped down to the side and is flopping around the flanks. It could be a spur in the wrong place. It could be a number of things. But the bottom line is there's an outside source that's made your horse buck, and so what you need to do is, it's pretty obvious, remove the source, and your horse should be fine. Well, when we're following Jesus and everything's going just fine, we have the joy of the Lord in our heart, a sense of loving others. We have a praise song on our lip and in our minds, and we're just loving our walk with the Lord. Everything's going really good until just out of the blue, something happens that causes you to stumble. You stumble, you fall, you become entangled in sin. You know, why does that happen? You know, things were going so good. Well, often it's because there's an outside source that has found its way in, causing you to stumble. So it makes sense to remove this outside source. You know, pretty simple, really. Remove it. And the question is, what is the source that's causing us to stumble so many times? Well, the battle's often, it's fought in our mind. This is where it's won and where it's lost. And Paul talks about this, of how we can have victory. In 2 Corinthians chapter 10, verse 4, he says, the weapons we fight with are not the weapons of the world. On the contrary, they have divine power. Think about that for a minute. Divine power. It's pretty heavy. Divine power to do what? To demolish strongholds. We demolish arguments and every pretension that sets itself up against the knowledge of God. And we take captive every thought to make it obedient to Christ. So, what he's telling us right there is, one, golly, we have divine power. I think the church has forgotten about that. You know, I think that there is a thought that has entered in to so many of our minds, and that thought is this, and that is, you know, as long as we get saved and understand doctrine and just kind of hunker down until Jesus comes or until we go to the sweet by and by, then that's about all the best we can hope for. No, we can experience the power of Christ right now in our life. And I'm afraid too many of us Christians and too many churches have settled for much less. Well, that stronghold, that thought, it needs to be demolished in our lives and in our churches, because we need to understand there is power. You know, religious spirit is not a good thing. It's not religious spirit's not positive. It's not good. And it's a religious spirit that is the stronghold. It's the religious spirit that caused the guys, and when Jesus healed this man's withered hand, you know, the religious people were watching to see what Jesus would do, because it was the Sabbath, remember. And he healed the man's hand. Now, you would think these religious people would be just, you know, oh, this is wonderful. Look what God has done. Let's give praise and glory to God. No, it's not what they did. They criticized Jesus because it didn't fall into their religious guidelines. You know, we in the church, we need to have childlike faith again. We need to remember that God's power is just as strong and just as available in our lives today as it was in the lives of his followers 2,000 years ago. And if we can demolish that stronghold, and we will, I believe that the church is going to wake up, and that stronghold will be demolished, and people can once again see the power of God in his church. Anyway, y'all be safe, be careful. If you're watching this before the winter storm hits, y'all be careful, and hope to see you Sunday. Have a great day.